go. Back up, back up.
Yeah!
Woo!
Hey guys, welcome to Roadless, the show about Jeeps and everything off-road. I'm Steve King. Today we're out here at the Roadless headquarters, and today we're going to be installing a ROCKHARD 4x4 cage. Now this is made right here in the US, matter of fact right here in Nebraska, and it is a bolt-in cage as opposed to a weld-in cage. And there are a few differences between them and how they're installed. I like the bolt-in cage because, one, the installation doesn't include any welding, which makes it much easier for the home guy to be able to do if you don't weld. The other reason is that if you ever sold your Jeep and you wanted to remove the cage, very easy to do as well. And it uses a collar system. This is one of the collars. It uses 6 bolts, holds it together, and you use part of your factory cage in your TJ, YJ, CJ, LJ, JK. They make a cage for all of those, and once you put it in, your safety factor in your Jeep goes way up. I know a lot of people like to put armor on, they like to put a big lift kit on, they like to do all those kind of things. But if you're going to really wheel your Jeep off-road, you're going to be a little more serious than just some trail riding. You want to have the safety of a good cage, and this sport cage is very, very well made by ROCKHARD 4x4. There are a couple knockoffs of this, I will warn you. They are not of the same quality. They're not made in America. They are manufactured to look like the same cage, not the same cage. If you're going to do a bolt-in cage, I recommend the ROCKHARD 4x4. They do a great job, great service, and we're about ready to get going. Now the kit here, when you buy the standard kit, it comes with the overhead bars. You have a couple of options with the overhead bars. You can get this plate in the middle, which is really nice to mount like a CB or anything else. You get the upper bars here, which go along the windshield. That includes the handle, which is great. You also get a windshield bar, which is this bar right here. Anything else you want to get is going to be extra. For one, the rear spreader bar, which goes kind of over the rear seat, that is extra. And then the speaker pod bars, which attach from the side of the cage up to the main hoop, those are extra as well. You can also get a frame tie-in kit, and Trevor's LJ that we're working on today, he's actually put in some really nice off-road seats with a 5-point harness, and I can show you right here. He's got the really nice seats, he's got the full harness here, but he also put a harness bar in, and this is ROCKHARD makes this bar as well. Goes along the back and gives you a good place to attach your harness. And this is the collar system that it uses. Really well made, lots of options, a great company to work with. So we'll get started here. You can see we've already removed all the padding, which is the first thing you want to do. There's some disassembly, so you're going to take all the padding off of your cage, your factory cage, and pretty much you keep everything. This is your main hoop, your rear bars that you're going to keep, and your side bars as well. I do know that Poison Spider makes a replacement bar that's of a heavier grade. ROCKHARD 4x4 says leave the factory ones in there. They kind of use it as a crumple zone. I'm a little on the fence on that, whether or not I like that idea of this being the weak point to the cage so it doesn't transfer energy. I think I'd probably replace it, which is what I've done on my Jeep, is I've replaced it with a piece from Poison Spider, which puts in a real strong A to B pillar. So we're ready basically to start getting this thing going, and that's where we are now. All right, I want to introduce Trevor. It's his Jeep that we're putting the ROCKHARD 4x4 cage in today. And Trevor is chasing the threads. Now, ROCKHARD 4x4 actually sends you the correct tools to do that so that you're able to chase all the threads. Now, they've been machined and all by ROCKHARD 4x4, but to make it a little easier, they recommend that you chase every single threaded hole on the cage. And it takes quite a bit of time, doesn't it?
About an hour and a half. I did it all in my kitchen.
Yeah, you figure every connection point has 6 bolts going into it, so times however many contact points there are, it's a lot. So you want to chase them ahead of time just to make sure that there's no powder coating in there or that the threads are cut correctly and all of that. So it makes the installation go a lot easier, a lot quicker. All right, so we're getting started on the installation of the ROCKHARD 4x4 cage. First thing you want to do is you're going to put the down bar that connects here to the AB pillar, comes down and connects into the firewall of the Jeep. So we removed the speakers, the front speakers here. It gives you a little more access back behind where the nuts are for these. And you're going to remove these 3 dashboard bolts. So you'll remove those 3 and then we'll put the first bar in and start hooking that up. So this is your first down bar that you want to put in. It goes right here. It ties into the firewall here and ties up into the AB pillar. I put one of the collars in with just 2 loose bolts. And one thing I can tell you about putting in a bolt-in cage, you want to leave all the bolts loose until you get it in. There's a lot of adjusting that has to happen. So we've got these plates that will go behind here where the factory bolts were, and then we have these nuts that will go in there. This doesn't interfere at all with the door. You can still use your hard top, you can still use your soft top, whatever. Everything is, you know, easy to use. Nothing, it doesn't hamper anything that you're trying to do. So we're installing these down bars here that go into the firewall, and where they attach. Give you an idea of the difference in quality and size. This is the factory bolt that you use just to hold the dash in. Very small, very weak, uses a little clip for a nut. This is what replaces it from ROCKHARD 4x4. You can see, well engineered, solid. It really adds a lot of strength. Now, if you do want to do the down bar and the frame tie-in system, which is another option, it's what I love about this kit. Lots of options you can do. These are replaced with a solid plate, comes down from the dash, goes through the floor, and can tie into your frame. So your cage is then tied fully into your frame. But for this kit, the way we're doing it right now, we're just using these bars, plenty strong. All right, so on the passenger side, we've got our first down bar in, loose, it's not tightened up yet. The next thing you want to do is you want to put the dash bar in. Now this is one of the bars that comes with the kit when you buy it from ROCKHARD 4x4. But you don't want to put both of these on, so you don't want to do the driver's side of this yet, because then you won't be able to fit the dash bar on. Ask me how I know. Once you put them in and you look and you realize, oh, I can't put it in there without taking the other side off, it's going to slow you down quite a bit. So we've got it laying here. Once again, we're just going to put one of the collars on, a couple of the bolts, leave them loose until we get the overhead spreader bars in, and then we'll start kind of adjusting everything and making sure it fits up good. So that's our next thing. Get this started, and then Trevor on the other side, with the help of Scott, Bill, and Griffin, they're going to be putting the other down bar on. Yeah, but this is because of the angle of it. That's why I'm saying I pushed this as far forward as I could and then tighten this in. Yeah, I guess.
Doing the same thing.
Probably, yeah.
That's the
I think that's for this side, I think. Yeah. Where is it? All right, so as we continue to put the cage in, they're working on the down bar over there. One thing that we've noticed on Trevor's Jeep is that he has a Rampage top that is a frameless top, and it has a header bar. The header bar is going to hit this collar up here, so we're going to have to do a little trimming up here on the header bar, just a little bit, just to make sure it clears this collar completely. So, like I've said before, and you've seen it in other videos, every Jeep is different. The accessories that are on it are different. So you just have to plan for that there are going to be a few things that you're going to have to kind of work with and make them work together as a cohesive kit. So we'll get that out of the way. That way when we start tightening it up, we'll figure out how much we're going to have to clearance this. And not a big deal, just a little thing. So this is the spreader bar that goes around the speaker pod. They make it so if you have the speaker pods that go onto the main hoop of the roll cage, this goes around it. It ties the rear bars in. Once again, this is another one of those options that they do from ROCKHARD 4x4. Now I will tell you, if you read on some of the forums like jeepforum.com or wranglerforum.com, some people will say that the collar system isn't as strong as a full weld-in cage. Maybe, but I think when you look at this, once this collar is put around another bar and bolted in with 6 grade 5 bolts, and then you have this weld here, this weld is no different than welding this to a bar. And I think the strength of it, the people that say the strength isn't there in a bolt-in cage, I think are wrong, quite frankly. I think this cage, for most applications, not competition, not hardcore rock crawling, not Ultra 4 or something like that. I think this cage is a great option for a weekend wheeler. All right, we're wrapping things up. One of the most important things to have when you're working on a Jeep is a good Jeep dog. Roxy here, good Jeep dog, good girl. All right, so we've got all of the pieces of the ROCKHARD 4x4 cage in. We've got all the bolts in, and everything's loose at this point. And basically all you do is you start adjusting and starting to tighten stuff down. You just have to be real careful. You're not cross-threading any of the bolts. And you have 66 bolts to now tighten. Some people say that's the downside of a bolt-in cage, is now you have a ton of bolts to do. If you did a weld-in cage, you'd have a ton of welding to do because you would have just tacked it together easily. But the main thing is the rear bars, pretty easy. You just put them in, tighten them down. You're not there's not a whole lot of adjusting back here. But up front, you have to adjust these so that you can still get your door surrounds in and all of that. And some people will question, okay, will this still work with a soft top? Will it work with a hard top? ROCKHARD makes it so that it works with both, no problem. If you have a factory top, works perfect. The Rampage top, no problem until you get back to this rear bar. The rear bar does stick out a little bit further, and because it doesn't have a frame on that type of top, it will have a little bit of a hump there. But other than that, it works great. This went in really easy. With a couple of people, you can probably do this in a good 3 hours, maybe, something like that. You want an extra pair of hands to help out there because there's a lot of, when you're adjusting things and moving things. So we're at the point now, we're just going to start tightening stuff up and making sure it's all in correctly. have pretty much wrapped up all the tightening of all 66 bolts on the ROCKHARD 4x4 cage. Last thing we're going to do is the spreader bar here. We're going to measure it up, make sure it's all square and where it should be, and it's about done. It's a great cage. It's a great addition to anybody that's going off-roading. It makes your Jeep much safer on road as well. I mean, if you've ever seen pictures of a Jeep that's rolled, especially on pavement, one of the first things that happens is the windshield folds down onto the driver and the passenger. This prevents that. These bars will keep that windshield upright, helps the integrity, and helps keep anything from getting into the interior compartment. So ROCKHARD 4x4, you can check them out online. They've got a cage for pretty much any vehicle you're driving. It's a Jeep, and as well as bumpers and all sorts of other stuff as well. So join us next time on Roadless.